In the history of cinema, only a handful of actors have earned a place so prominent that their names become synonymous with an entire era. Among those legendary figures stands Clark Gable, a man whose charisma, talent, and commanding screen presence made him one of the most celebrated stars of the 20th century. Known around the world as the King of Hollywood, Clark Gable represented everything audiences admired in a leading man: confidence, charm, masculinity, and authenticity. For more than 3 decades, he captivated moviegoers with unforgettable performances, becoming a symbol of the golden age of Hollywood. His journey from a small-town boy in Ohio to one of the most famous actors in history was neither easy nor predictable. It was a story filled with hardship, determination, triumph, heartbreak, and resilience. This is the story of Clark Gable, a man who rose from humble beginnings to become a cinematic legend whose influence continues to shape Hollywood today. Clark Gable was born William Clark Gable on February 1, 1901, in Cadiz. His father, William Henry Gable, worked in the oil fields and farming industry, while his mother, Adeline Hershelman Gable, cared for the family. The future Hollywood icon entered the world under ordinary circumstances. Nothing about his early years suggested that he would someday become one of the most recognizable faces in entertainment history. Tragedy arrived early. When Clark was only 10 months old, his mother died from complications related to epilepsy. Losing his mother at such a young age left an emotional scar that would remain with him throughout his life. Several years later, his father remarried. Clark's stepmother, Jenny Dunlap Gable, played an important role in his upbringing. Unlike his father, who emphasized hard work and practicality, Jenny encouraged culture, literature, and self-expression. She introduced Clark to music and reading, helping him develop interests beyond manual labor. Growing up in rural Ohio was not glamorous. Life revolved around work, responsibility, and survival. Yet even as a young boy, Clark possessed a vivid imagination. He enjoyed storytelling and occasionally participated in school activities that allowed him to perform in front of others. At the time, however, acting seemed like an impossible dream. Hollywood itself was still developing, and careers in entertainment were far removed from the realities of small-town America. As a teenager, Clark struggled to find his place in the world. He was not particularly interested in academics and eventually left school at the age of 16. Like many young men of his era, he entered the workforce early. He held a variety of jobs, including factory work, tire manufacturing, and positions connected to the oil industry. These occupations provided income, but little personal fulfillment. For several years, Clark lived an ordinary life, uncertain about his future. Everything changed when he attended a theatrical performance. Watching actors command a stage and bring stories to life sparked something inside him. For the first time, he discovered a passion powerful enough to shape his ambitions. The experience inspired him to pursue acting despite having no formal training and very limited opportunities. Friends and family often questioned his decision. Acting was considered an unstable profession, and success was far from guaranteed. Nevertheless, Clark remained determined. He joined local theater groups and began performing whenever possible. His early appearances were modest, but they allowed him to learn valuable lessons about stagecraft, timing, and audience engagement. The road ahead would be difficult, but Clark had found his purpose. One of the most significant influences on Clark's early career was Josephine Dillon, an experienced acting coach. When Dillon first met Clark, she recognized qualities that others overlooked. Although he lacked refinement, she saw enormous potential in his appearance, voice, and determination. At the time, Clark's speech patterns reflected his rural upbringing. Dillon worked tirelessly to improve his diction, pronunciation, and vocal control. She taught him how to project confidence and communicate effectively with audiences. The training was demanding. Clark spent countless hours practicing exercises designed to improve his performance skills. He studied movement, expression, and dramatic technique. Gradually, the transformation became apparent. The shy young laborer evolved into a confident performer capable of holding an audience's attention. Their professional relationship eventually developed into a personal one, and the two married in 1924. Although their marriage would not last forever, Dylan's influence on Clark's development was profound. Without her guidance, his journey to Hollywood might have been very different. Throughout the 1920s, Clark traveled extensively with theater companies. Life on the road was challenging. Performers often endured long journeys, limited accommodations, and uncertain income. Yet these experiences strengthened Clark's resilience and broadened his understanding of acting. He appeared in numerous stage productions, playing a wide variety of characters. Each performance helped him refine his abilities and build confidence. Eventually, he decided to pursue opportunities in Hollywood. Upon arriving in California, however, Clark quickly discovered that success would not come easily. Film studios rejected him repeatedly. Some executives believed he lacked the conventional appearance of a leading man. Others criticized his large ears and rugged features. In an industry obsessed with perfection, these comments could have destroyed his confidence. Instead, Clark used rejection as motivation. He accepted small roles, worked tirelessly, and continued improving his craft. Gradually, industry professionals began noticing something unique about him. While other actors relied heavily on appearance, Clark possessed an undeniable screen presence. Whenever he appeared on camera, audiences noticed him. That quality would eventually change everything. The transition from silent films to sound films created new opportunities throughout Hollywood. Many silent-era stars struggled to adapt because their voices failed to meet audience expectations. Clark, however, possessed a naturally deep and commanding voice. This advantage helped him stand out during an era of major change. His early film appearances often cast him as villains, tough guys, or supporting characters. Despite limited screen time, he consistently left a strong impression. Directors appreciated his authenticity. Producers recognized his potential appeal. By the end of the decade, Clark was attracting increasing attention from major studios. The industry had begun to realize that he possessed qualities that could not be manufactured. He was not merely handsome or talented, he was magnetic. In 1930, Clark signed a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, commonly known as MGM. The studio system dominated Hollywood during this period, and MGM was among its most powerful organizations. Studio executives quickly identified Clark as a future star. He appeared in a series of successful films that showcased his versatility and charisma. Audiences responded enthusiastically. Unlike many actors who depended on elaborate performances, Clark seemed natural. His confidence felt genuine rather than rehearsed. Moviegoers believed the characters he portrayed. As his popularity increased, MGM invested heavily in promoting him as one of the studio's premier stars. Within a few years, Clark Gable had become one of Hollywood's biggest attractions. A defining moment arrived in 1934 with the release of It Happened One Night. The romantic comedy paired Clark with Claudette Colbert. Initially, neither star expected the film to become a major success. However, audiences loved the story, humor, and chemistry between the two leads. The film became a sensation. At the Academy Awards, it achieved something unprecedented by winning all 5 major categories: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. Clark received the Oscar for Best Actor. The victory elevated him from popular star to Hollywood royalty. His status as one of the industry's most important performers was now firmly established. During the mid-1930s and 1940s, Clark Gable reached the peak of his fame. He became one of the highest-paid and most admired actors in the world. Magazine covers featured his image regularly. Fans lined up for hours to watch his films. Newspapers reported extensively on his career and personal life. The public admired his confidence and sophistication. His style influenced fashion trends across America. Men copied his clothing and grooming choices. Women admired his charm and elegance. It was during this period that journalists and fans began calling him the King of Hollywood. Unlike titles created by publicity departments, this nickname emerged naturally from public admiration. The title remained associated with him for the rest of his life. If one film defined Clark Gable's career, it was undoubtedly Gone with the Wind. Released in 1939, the film became one of the most significant productions in cinema history. Clark portrayed Rhett Butler, a charismatic businessman navigating the turmoil of the American Civil War and Reconstruction era. The role suited him perfectly. His performance combined confidence, humor, vulnerability, and emotional complexity. Alongside Vivien Leigh, Clark created one of cinema's most memorable screen partnerships. The film achieved enormous commercial and critical success. Even decades later, Rhett Butler remains one of the most iconic characters in film history. For millions of viewers, Clark Gable and Rhett Butler became inseparable. Beyond his professional achievements, Clark experienced profound personal happiness through his relationship with Carole Lombard. Lombard was one of Hollywood's most talented and beloved actresses. Their relationship attracted enormous public interest. Unlike many celebrity romances, their connection appeared genuine and deeply affectionate. Friends described them as playful, supportive, and deeply devoted to one another. The couple often escaped Hollywood's spotlight by spending time at their ranch in Nevada. For Clark, these years represented some of the happiest moments of his life. Everything changed in January 1942. While returning from a war bond campaign, Carole Lombard's aircraft crashed into a mountain in Nevada. There were no survivors. The news devastated Clark. Friends later recalled that he was overwhelmed by grief. The loss affected him profoundly and permanently. Many historians believe this tragedy marked a major turning point in his life. Although he continued to work and maintain his public image, those closest to him noticed a sadness that never completely disappeared. Following Lombard's death, Clark enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces. His decision surprised many people. As one of Hollywood's biggest stars, he could easily have remained in California producing films. Instead, he chose military service. Clark participated in training programs, flew combat-related missions, and helped produce wartime documentaries. His service demonstrated courage and patriotism. Many Americans admired his willingness to leave behind fame and comfort during a time of national crisis. When the war ended, Clark returned home with renewed respect from both the public and the film industry. The post-war era introduced new challenges. Hollywood was changing. New actors, new styles, and new storytelling approaches were emerging. Some stars struggled to remain relevant. Clark adapted. Rather than competing with younger performers, he embraced mature roles that reflected his age and experience. His performances gained emotional depth and realism. Films from this period demonstrated his growth as an actor. He no longer relied solely on charm or physical presence. Instead, he brought wisdom and authenticity to his characters. This ability to evolve helped sustain his career long after many contemporaries had faded from prominence. Clark Gable's approach to acting was remarkably modern. He believed performances should feel natural rather than theatrical. Instead of exaggerating emotions, he focused on authenticity. His dialogue sounded conversational. His gestures appeared spontaneous. Audiences felt they were watching real people rather than performers reciting lines. This realism influenced generations of actors. Many film historians consider Clark one of the important figures in the evolution of screen acting. His style helped bridge the gap between traditional theatrical performance and the more naturalistic approaches that would dominate later decades. By the late 1950s, Clark remained a respected figure in Hollywood. In 1960, he accepted a leading role in The Misfits. The film also starred Marilyn Monroe and several other notable performers. Production proved physically demanding. Clark pushed himself hard throughout filming, despite concerns about his health. Few people realized that this would become his final completed film. His dedication to the project reflected his lifelong commitment to his craft. Even after decades of success, he continued working with professionalism and determination. Shortly after filming concluded, Clark suffered a heart attack. On November 16, 1960, he passed away at the age of 59. The reaction was immediate and widespread. Fans around the world mourned. Hollywood lost one of its most beloved figures. Tributes highlighted not only his achievements as an actor, but also his generosity, professionalism, and enduring influence. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park. His death marked the conclusion of one of cinema's most remarkable careers. Clark Gable's story is far more than the story of a movie star. It is the story of perseverance overcoming adversity, of talent meeting opportunity, and of a man who transformed himself through determination and hard work. From a small-town boy in Ohio to the king of Hollywood, his journey inspired millions. His performances continue to entertain audiences. His influence remains visible in modern acting. His films are studied by historians, admired by critics, and loved by movie fans around the world. More than 60 years after his passing, Clark Gable remains one of cinema's greatest legends. His image still symbolizes the glamour of Hollywood's golden age. His characters remain unforgettable, and his legacy endures as a testament to the timeless power of great storytelling and extraordinary talent. The King of Hollywood may have left the stage, but his crown remains secure in the history of world cinema. His name, his films, and his impact will continue to live on for generations to come.